afternoon. I'm Cynthia Merrill. I've been a resident here in the San Joaquin Valley, Fresno, teaching etiquette and manners to children, adults, professionals for about 32 years. It's my pleasure to be here with you today to talk with you about etiquette and manners. Our manners here in this country come from a British system, if you trace back the traditions of it. So when the British came over bringing the traditional manners with them, then of course people were being trained in that kind of an etiquette situation. So it's really a pleasure to have watched how it came across country here to California. California is much more laid back than it was on the East Coast, at least at the beginning time of my teaching. But what we're finding is that youth do not have the skills and the comfort levels in order to make their lives make a difference and to be successful. So knowledge is power. Knowledge helps you to become the person you would like to become. Now, if you talk about the word etiquette, etiquette really is just another word for manners. And manners is something we're more familiar with. But because you've been trained in etiquette or trained in manners does not make you a better person than anyone else. And that's the one misconception we have is the word etiquette. They're thinking about it being more snobbish as opposed to having it be something that the general public needs to learn and know about. Now, does everyone need to learn etiquette or manners? Yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter what culture you go into. That particular culture will have a certain set of expectations that are considered right or wrong, considered gracious and not gracious. And so for our people today here in this country, they need the opportunity to learn. Now, because they haven't had the training or haven't had the opportunities or the coursework, does not make them less than anyone else. And for those children, those adults who have been fortunate enough to have studied and trained, they become the role models for other people. Now, once again, let's talk about the word etiquette. Etiquette really is making people feel good about themselves when they're with you. Etiquette is making people comfortable at all times when they're with you. And so when we're training young people about the traditions, let me just, as an example, take table manners. When you're at the table, there are traditional manners for formal dining and for casual dining. If you haven't had the training, that makes you feel uncomfortable and not have a lot of confidence. And the most important thing is if you have the knowledge, you can be gracious and comfortable, and then that makes other people around you feel gracious and comfortable. Thank you notes would be another area of manners. If people have done something kind for you, been gracious to you, have invited you over to their home for dinner, have given you gifts, or you've carpooled their children, or anything else in a community where you reach out to other people, by writing that thank you note and showing your appreciation makes them feel good about themselves as to what they have done for you. It's like a circle, it goes round and round. When you show appreciation, they feel grateful that you are appreciative, and they're more apt to reach out to other people. So etiquette is about comfort. Etiquette is about knowledge. Etiquette is about making people feel good. Now, one thing I admire about the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, is that in a documentary about her, she had shared that when she's in certain situations and she realizes the company that she's with have not had the formal training that would normally be expected, she would water herself down closer to their level to make them be comfortable. Now that's what manners is all about, is being able to make an adjustment to the situation and be inclusive to everyone. Now, the other interesting thing about manners is if you were invited to a social situation and you got to the door and you were to say, oh, I don't want to be here. I'm not comfortable here. Why am I having to do this today? That's all very selfish because it's all I, me. You're just worried about yourself. With manners, you get out of yourself and into other people. So when you get to that threshold and you look around the room and you see somebody standing by themselves, then you would take the opportunity to go right over there, introduce yourself, have a conversation, and understand that listening is as good as talking, so that they are comfortable with you. And so very often that person that was standing all by themselves is so grateful to you that has given them an opportunity to enjoy the social situation and to feel good about themselves. So manners is something that's very important for everyone to learn and to understand. Now, what is etiquette? Etiquette is exactly what I've just explained to you. What are the components of etiquette? Etiquette components go from when you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, how shall I dress for this occasion? Because I want to make people feel comfortable when I'm there. How do I dress for the wedding or the funeral? Or how do I dress for the sporting event or going onto the field to play soccer? It's knowing the difference in dress etiquette. So etiquette is also composed of telephone manners, the ability to pick up the phone and have a sunshine in your voice. And my students will often chuckle over, what is sunshine in your voice? Well, sunshine in your voice is talking to people on the telephone with a smile. Because if you're talking to someone on the phone and you do not have a smile, you sound very different than when you smile. So you always smile when you're on the phone, when you're engaging with other people, because it gives you a lift, an air, something that makes people excited about being with you and around you. So sunshine in your voice is extremely, extremely important. Now, one thing also, the word etiquette. How do you spell the word etiquette? Well, there's a way I teach my children, my adults, my business professionals. Do you remember the movie by Spielberg years ago called E.T., the little extraterrestrial alien? Well, E.T. is the first two letters of the word etiquette. So you have to remember how that child in that movie wanted to help the little alien to get back home. So E.T. is the first. Now I cue you. Perhaps if I was playing a game with you, I would say, I will cue you when to duck. So it's I cue you. So E.T., the little alien, I cue you, and then like a cheerleader, E-T-T-E at the end. So E.T., I cue you, E-T-T-E is how you spell etiquette. And in my career, I've never had anyone who trained with me and I taught them how to spell that word that didn't spell it correctly in their thank you note to me. Etiquette training needs to start when children are very, very small. Teaching children manners is an important part of their development and allows them to have a foundation on which to build and be accepted and liked and loved, and to be able to go to school and know exactly how they should interact with others. Now, how do you get children interested in coming to an etiquette lesson? Well, the way in my career that I found is that I take a theme from children's literature, a book. I'll give you an example. It'll be E.B. White's book, Charlotte's Web. That would be the theme of their etiquette lesson for that session. I have my assistants dressed in the costumes from the book. So there'd be Fern, the little girl, there'd be Wilbur the pig, there'd be Charlotte the spider, there'd be the goose, there'd be Mr. Lurvy. All of these different characters would be my assistants at a workshop. And the very first thing we would do is talk about this most beloved book. And I would have asked the children to have read the book or have the parents read them the book before the etiquette lesson. Now, within this book, there are good manners and not so good manners. There's good character and not so good character, and it's absolutely wonderful way to get children involved in the etiquette lesson. As we know, Charlotte was the spider, and she would do anything for anyone as long as she had the strength and as long as she was still alive. Because with spiders, if they do lay their eggs and the little eggs hatch, then usually the spider, the predominant spider, will have passed away. Well, the other thing is there was Wilbur the pig. He was a runt, and little Fern didn't want him to be killed just because he was so small, and she begged if she could keep him. And that was showing for Fern a compassion for other people's situation. Then there was Templeton the rat. Now, Templeton the rat would never do anything unless he got something out of it. He would only go and fetch more newspapers or words if he got something out of it. What a wonderful book to teach character development for children. So I utilize this in the areas of teaching manners. Wilbur, being a little pig, he did not know how to respond, and there was the goose who said, "Wilbur, Wilbur, break through the fence and go away so you're not in your cage anymore." So outside influences to young people are extremely important to understand, because little Wilbur ran right away out in the world before he was ready. So using the themes from children's literature to help kids to understand the manners of how do we respond. Well, we're compassionate to someone that's littler than we are, and we show our love and our concern, and we work towards helping them. Or Charlotte, seeing the problem that Wilbur would probably be taken away, again to be slaughtered, started to write words in her web, building Wilbur up. And Templeton, whom everyone knew was so selfish. So this is how I get children involved through children's literature, talking about the good manners and the not good manners in the book. And that's the icebreaker that makes it fun. And then, of course, the characters who are in their costumes, my assistants, help me with the table manners, with the telephone manners, with the special dress for occasion, the benefits of being kind to one another, the introductions of how you introduce your parents to your school teacher, and how you introduce a friend to your grandparents. All of these components of etiquette can be taught to children, and using children's literature is a wonderful way to break into the character aspects of good manners.